Good morning, everyone. We are ready to start our virtual field trip. I want to welcome all fourth grade boys and girls and teachers to our first virtual field trip for the summer program. I know you're excited because we're excited to share information with you guys and to share different places that you haven't probably been to or you have through a virtual experience. So I welcome you. I hope that you guys enjoy this experience. This is one of the three that we will be having. And I am going to introduce you guys to Miss Kate, and she is from 2-Bit Circus, and she will give you guys a little bit more information on where she's from, what they have for us as students and as teachers and as educators, and then she will present you guys and take you into our field trip. So Miss Kate, are you with us?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. As Maria said, thank you so much for your lovely introduction. My name is Kate, and I work for the 2-Bit Circus Foundation. I'm currently working there as an executive assistant to our lovely CEO, who is Dr. Leah Haynes, and I'm also one of their facilitator ambassadors, which means that it's just a fancy word for teacher. So I go around to different schools and different libraries and teach different classes that we have, whether it be robotics or coding or even some arts related classes that are my personal favorites. We've also participated in STEAM carnivals. One of our most recent ones was with the Linwood School District, and it was our first ever virtual one, and it's still actually on our YouTube. So if you're interested in that, please go see it. It was a completely virtual experience that we got to share with everyone in the Linwood School District that had full interaction. So while we were socially distancing because of our current pandemic, we were able to interact with each other live, which was really an awesome treat. And it is a treat today to be with all of you. I'm excited to hear all of your questions here today a little later on, but right now I'm actually going to show you a little bit of a PowerPoint that I created for you today that will start our journey on the next 3 field trips that you have here with me today. So should I share my screen, Maria?
Yes, can we just stop real quick? I hear we're having some technical difficulties, so let me just real quick and then see what we can do. Okay, give me
Of
just.
course, no problem.
Okay, Kate, go ahead, and I think we're ready to share your screen.
Wonderful. Okay, let me just get everything lined up for everyone. Okay, everyone's able to see my screen? Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to your first ever virtual field trip with the 2-Bit Circus Foundation. As I said, my name is Kate, and I'm honored to be here with you this morning. But let me tell you a little bit about us as a corporation before we get started this morning.
I'm Eric Gradden. And I'm Brent Bushnell, co-founders of 2-Bit Circus. And this is our Los Angeles workshop. We we've set out to reimagine the carnival of the future. The Steam Carnival is a modern traveling circus featuring high-tech games built with lasers, robots, and fire. It'll open in Los Angeles and travel to San Francisco next spring. You've already made a lot of fun games to inspire kids to pursue science, technology, engineering, art, and math, or STEAM. We're raising money to finalize production, to secure locations, and to reach out to schools. Inventing new carnival games, coordinating mentors, and organizing a full road-ready carnival takes resources. We've got great ways for the whole family to get involved, including special kits that kids can use to make their own futuristic entertainment and be part of the show. With the help of the community, we want to engage, entertain, and educate young minds all across the country. Tell all your friends. Support the Steam Carnival today. Thank you, and we'll see you at the Steam Carnival.
So that video is a little older. That introduces our STEAM Carnival because we already have our 2-Bit Circus Micro Amusement Park in the Arts District in downtown LA. And it's a beautiful space, and we're excited to reopen it to our communities whenever it's safe for us to interact again in person. But that was Eric Gradman and Brent Bushnells, our founders of the 2-Bit Circus Corporation. And you actually saw Brent's dad in there, Nolan Bushnell, who is the creator, one of the creators of Atari, as well as Chuck E. Cheese. And they are wonderful, wonderful men who have a lot of big dreams. And actually the micro amusement park was a 10-year dream that came to fruition with the help of STEAM, as they mentioned, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And so as you saw in the video, this is our key values. One, learning happens everywhere all the time, which is exceptionally true. I find that to be true. Number 2, radical niceness, building each other up. We do believe in the community being a whole. I'm sorry, you can hear the planes fly by me. But yes, we do believe in community-driven activities and understanding that while we are strong as individuals, we're actually stronger together. And by working together, we can innovate our creations and create a happier, a healthier future for all of us. Number 3, we definitely want to redefine failure, facing challenges with optimism and resilience. I absolutely believe that you should look forward to your failures more so than your successes. And that's because I learn more from my failures than I do when I get something right the first time. I don't know if you feel that way, but I definitely do. And unfortunately, we see the word failure as a negative thing, something that's bad, something that you should try to avoid. And instead, we don't believe that here at the 2-Bit Circus. We instead think that you should chase your failures because that's where you grow the most. Number 4, we have the absolute belief of the power of collective creativity that I talked about before by our community awareness. And number 5, we love to unleash passion, curiosity, and creativity. I know that that has been nurtured in my personal journey with the 2-Bit Circus and my job there, but I absolutely see that we love to inspire this in you guys. We love to see things that you're passionate about, that you're curious about, and really out of the box sort of thinking, because we need those kind of thinkers nowadays to help us develop new things. So if you don't know what STEAM is, or maybe you've heard of STEM, it's relatively the same thing, but in STEAM, we do have the emphasis and the addition of art. And we do believe that creative arts are especially important to science, technology, engineering, and math. And that's because without art, unfortunately, the things we love, such as video games, films, images, anything that has to have a character that moves of some kind has an artist at the other end of it. And if we forget about that, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves on these larger, more scientific ideas that sometimes are harder to grasp for people. So the artists can interpret those ideas, such as atoms bumping into each other, by using dancers, for example. My favorite example of that is Dancing for Your PhD. And I highly suggest you get lost in that rabbit hole if that sounds interesting to you. This is our warehouse. So this is specifically the foundation or the nonprofit charity that I work for. As you can see, this was before because there are people in our warehouse, but what we provide for our community down in Gardena, as well as everywhere that we can, is the ability to buy upcycled materials at a lower cost. So we take items from manufacturers that might get thrown away, and instead we repurpose them and give them back to the community for science projects or gifts even. We use these materials for our white elephant exchange every year during the holidays. And this slide just encompasses our idea of fun and zaniness by saying, let's play together. We share an interest in developing a passion for STEAM careers at a young age and maintaining interest for elementary through high school. We share an interest in environmental stewardship and good corporate citizenship. Let's make STEAM cool because STEAM is cool, STEAM is fun, and we believe that learning can be absolutely fun and enjoyable for everyone.
We're on a mission to bring STEAM to communities nationwide with the Two-Bit Circus Foundation STEAM Carnival. The goal of the event is to inspire more creative thinkers and doers through playful, meaningful, immersive experiences. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. STEAM Carnival champions the mindset that these multiple disciplines are seamlessly integrated into how people live, work, and play. STEAM Carnival is a social amusement platform for all ages that uses technology-infused games and immersive hands-on experiences that engage the community in STEAM. We have hosted carnivals in Hawthorne, San Pedro, San Francisco, Dallas, and around the world. Now we will be replicating this experience in a way we hope you will enjoy from the comfort of your own home. We're taking our STEAM Carnival virtual. Welcome to the STEAM Carnival.
So that was a commercial that we made recently for our Linwood project that I told you all about. And you can access that on our YouTube or our website later if you'd like. So specifically about the nonprofit charity that I work for, so the Two-Bit Circus Foundation, we're a band of mad scientists, artists, inventors, storytellers, educators, and performers. We build big games, tell stories with technology, and make liberal use of lasers, fires, and robots. Please note that we waive all responsibility for accidental violations of physics and/or eyebrow injuries. We blur the line between physical and digital playgrounds to create a new world of social amusement. We created STEAM Carnival because we believe the world needs more inventors. And that's absolutely true. We need more inventors. We need more innovators. We need just more of this creativity that we love to nurture and build upon because we know that it makes a better, more fun space for all of us together. So this is some pictures of our state-of-the-art location, our micro amusement park in the Arts District. This is some pictures from people playing Space Squad in Space, which is one of our story rooms. We have people playing some button mash games, excuse me. And then we have a picture from our grand opening where you can see the stilt walker and the lyra performer. We had a wonderful time last September, I believe. That's when we opened. So we're still shy of a couple years old, and we're just pleased as punch to be here. If you didn't know, the micro amusement park was set to open in September of 2019. And unfortunately, due to an electrical issue, the park staff was racing against time to be opening day ready. And I was actually there. That's how I started my journey with the Two-Bit Circus. I worked for the micro amusement park. I got hired there in July. So I was part of the pre-production team to help make sure that this zany circus could come to reality. And we were down to the wire pretty much the day of that we were planning to open, and we hadn't been able to get the electrical inspectors down to make sure that we had all the right plugs and all the right wiring, and we wouldn't accidentally blow the grid by having too much power get sucked up by the circus. And without electricity, our Wonderland of Tomorrow could not come to life because, as you can see, we have a lot of power that we need to use not only for the lights, but for the staff to see. And of course, the games. Without electricity, we can't have those games for you to play with. So we're going to focus on electricity while you're visiting us at the circus. And electricity, my dear. Well, what is electrical energy? Electrical energy is delivered by tiny charged particles called electrons, typically moving through a wire. And then lightning is an example of electrical energy in nature. Well, we have electrical energy at home that we use. There is also electrical energy created naturally by Mother Nature, and that would be lightning. The law of conservation of energy says that the energy is neither created nor destroyed, and that is very true. So when people use energy, it doesn't just disappear. It doesn't go nowhere. It actually changes from one form of energy into another form of energy. So for example, if you eat an ice cream, which is chemical energy because you have to use your digestive system to get all of the nutrients or sugar, I guess, from that ice cream. And then that gets changed into kinetic energy, motion energy, because you're going to now ride your bike. You had your ice cream at your day at the beach, and now you have the energy to ride your bike all the way down Venice Beach or Santa Monica, for example. And then electricity is also known as a secondary energy source because it's produced, by converting primary sources of energy such as coal, natural gas, nuclear energy, solar energy, and wind energy. So unfortunately, electrical power doesn't just exist by itself. It needs to draw power from something else in order for it to gain power itself. So it has to use either renewable resources such as solar energy or wind energy, or non-renewable resources such as coal, fossil fuels. Nuclear energy isn't quite a renewable energy source. So those all have a certain limit. And electricity is also referred to as an energy carrier. And if you don't know what that means is that it can be converted into other forms of energy, such as mechanical energy or heat. So you can see this picture right next to the words that I have on your screen. And there is we have solar energy from the sun, radiant energy, right? And that can turn into chemical energy inside plants whenever they're going through photosynthesis, which is how they learn to survive. Or, as we were talking about before, electrical energy when you plug in any device, say your phone, into the wall, that's being transformed into a different form of energy to charge up your phone, or a different sort of energy to power whatever machine you're using. So the basic units of measurement for electrical power, you may heard of it, is a watt. And 1,000 watts is a kilowatt. And you can keep that in mind because kilo is 1,000. So whenever you see that, just keep that in mind for yourself. And just an example so that you can understand what watts are like, whenever you power a 1,000 watt vacuum for 1 hour, you're actually using 1,000 watt hours of electricity. I know that sounds very, very difficult and kind of convoluted, but hopefully this breakdown will make a little bit more sense for you. Electric utilities measure electricity consumption of their customers with meters that are located usually outside of your house. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're usually round and there's a lot of writing on them, and there's usually some sort of gauge in the center. Ask your parents at home if they can show you where your meter is located so that you can see it for yourself. And just so you know, electricity use in the United States, so our country, in 2018 was more than 16 times greater than electricity use in 1950. That means that our electricity use has increased quite a lot in a short amount of time. And that could be because a lot more people are here, as well as we have devices that need a lot more power, and maybe we haven't looked into more energy efficient devices. And a fun fact about electricity for everyone was that it was first sold in the US in 1879 by the California Electric Light Company in San Francisco, which produced and sold only enough electricity to power 21 electric lights. And those are the brush arc light lamps. So old lamps, not the ones that we currently have now. And I was able to find this appliance energy calculator on a couple different websites. And most energy companies or electric companies actually have this on their website so that their customers can figure out how much they are typically using in one day when it comes to the different appliances in their house. And that might explain to them a little bit better why they're being charged the amounts that they are. And just so you can see, this is a infographic that I found from EIA, which is the US Energy Information Administration. And these are the sources of US electricity during 2019. And the total that we used was 4.1 trillion kilowatt hours, which is a lot, my friends. So as you can see, natural gas takes up about 38% of our electricity generation. Coal is 23%, nuclear is 20%, and renewables, which is so sad, is only 17%, my friends. We need to make that much, much bigger. And as you can see, it's broken down by wind, hydro, solar, biomass, and geothermal, and those percentages are very, very, very small. And then last but not least, we do use petroleum, and that only accounts to about 1% of our electricity generation. As we can clearly see on this infographic right in front of us, we have a lot of work to do. And not only does that start with ourselves as individuals in our community, but that also has to deal with our city governments and legislature. So we just have to keep in mind that there are multiple processes to take whenever we want to make big changes like this, but it always can start from home with us. Maria, I did want to save this video for
And
later.
over the years,
I will pause, Eric. I did want to save that video for later just because Eric has something really wonderful to say, and I would rather us wrap up our field trip today with him. So I believe, is it question time for me?
Yes, we do have some great questions, Kate. And thank
Yay!
you. Yep.
I'm so glad to hear there's questions. I was afraid.
And they're still coming in. So I will start. We had one question. This was one of the earlier questions from one of our students, Amy from Miles Avenue. And she just wanted, her question was, and it might have been answered, but if you could elaborate a little bit more, how does electricity move through the wire and power things?
Got you. So thank you for your question, Amy. How electricity moves through wire? Well, we're actually going to talk about this a little bit more next week. And just a little bit of a spoiler alert to all of you here. We're going to be talking a lot about Monsters, Inc. So if you can, and if you like to, before next week's field trip, I would love for you to watch that film because it does explain how electricity moves. So electricity starts off at a power plant of some source where it's all kind of held together in a house, if that makes any sense. When you turn on your light switch at home, that in a way kind of tells that original power source from the power plant that, hey, this very specific house at this address needs power for a vacuum or a light. And in those milliseconds, and I mean milliseconds, because we can't tell the difference when we turn things off and on unless the power grid, which is big connected unit of wires and power that powers a specific area of a city. So you can think of it like grid paper. If you have grid notebooks, think of it looking kind of like that, but way more intricate and a lot more crisscross wires that connects one little small city inside of a bigger city. Because if all of the wires were connected in a large area, the grid would blow. It couldn't carry that much electricity and sustain it for all those people. So what happens is that in those milliseconds of you turning on your light switch, there are signals that are turned on and off by that switch. That's why it's called a switch. It cuts off the power and it turns it back on by connecting a circuit, which is what all electricity depends on, is a circuit. And the way that you can remember a circuit, as I'm showing you here, is a circle. A circuit is a circle. So when the circuit is whole, your light will turn on, but a switch can open up the circuit, an open circuit, and turn it off, because as you can see, there is no power being transferred at all. But when it is a closed circuit, just as so, all the power is able to move from the battery to the light source and everything. So that is how the electricity runs. I hope that answered the question, Maria. And please, please let me know if there's anything else I can say, Amy, to clarify for you.
Thank you, Kate. I think it did. Thank you. Thank you. And I was just filtering through some questions, and these are one of our earlier questions. We had one from one of our teachers, and he asked, how were electrical systems made? And I know that this was a question generated from all the students, so you probably have answered, but if you could elaborate just a little bit more, and then we'll probably have time for another 4 questions, and we could go from there.
Sure. How are electrical systems made? So that's a great off topic off of what I was just talking about. Those electrical systems, as I said, absolutely need a circuit. Let me get my trusty drawing notebook for you all. Blah. So I suggest, I know for myself, I have different notebooks for my different work, and I highly suggest it so that you can keep all your ideas in one place. Let me get my big marker for you all. Okay, so as I was saying, electricity depends on a circuit, which is a circle, right? And electrical systems are built kind of the same way. You have to think of it as a circuit. So let me break that down for you as to what it will be. And I'll break it down to you in very, very simple terms, as in, let's talk about just a singular light bulb. Have you ever seen those science experiments where they try to use a potato to turn on a light, or other things besides a traditional battery? Well, this is explaining it in very simple terms, I hope. So what you're going to have originally, and what you always need for electricity to be available, is a power source or a battery. So first, you need battery, right? A battery is very important because as I said earlier, electricity is a secondary energy source. So it needs a primary energy source like a battery in order for it to operate. Without a primary energy source, it can't work. Have you tried to ever make one of your games or your robots work that needs batteries, but you don't put the batteries in and you turn it on? Nothing happens, right? Of course. Well, because it doesn't have that primary energy source, the battery. So that's exactly what happens with electricity. For example, so primary source of energy, battery, always need the battery, which is always connected to whatever you need to turn on. So I'm going to draw a mini light bulb here. Excuse my quick sketch skills. I promise I'm a better artist than this. So the battery does have to be connected to the light source. Otherwise, it will not work. And as you can see, we only have half of the circle. We still need to connect the other side of the circle as well. But we don't want to have a completely closed circuit without a switch, because that means that this light will be on all the time. And if that's what you want, then absolutely go for it. Go for a closed circuit, but understand that it's going to use more of your primary energy source, which is your battery, and that is going to drain it faster. So you're going to have to just change your batteries more often, for example. So we're going to connect this light to a switch, and this is the quick engineer way of drawing a switch. It's just 2 open lines like so. And we have our open switch right there. So right now, as you can see, the switch is open. So we have an open circuit. This is an open circuit. It's not closed because it does not make a full circle. However, if we were to, I'm going to grab a different color, hopefully. I need to find bigger markers. This is what I've learned about myself. So if we were to close the switch, turn it on, we're going to use this blue instead. As you can see right here, that makes a closed circuit, so a complete circuit. And that way the energy can flow completely all the way around, and the light will turn on. But If it's just open, like our original drawing was right here, there is no complete circuit of energy. So the light will not turn on, it will stay off. I hope that answered your question. Lovely, lovely class of that teacher. I didn't get the teacher's name, but thank you so much for your question. Next one, Maria?
Yes, our teacher was Mr. Dowdy. So I hope it answered your question. And along those lines, we have a student who asked a question from San Antonio Elementary. Student's name, from student Semadan, and he asked, why do electrical systems heat up? So since you did your lovely drawing, I was thinking maybe we could elaborate on that. And why do the electrical systems heat up?
Absolutely. So a great example of that, I don't know if you have any kind of older iPhone, but the iPhone has a really nasty habit of this, of when it's charging or when you're using it a lot, it starts getting hot in your hands, right? Have you ever used something for an extended period of time that is a device, whether it be a Switch, a Game Boy, a PlayStation, even lights, for example? Lights are a great example of this. If you've kept a light on for a long time, and I don't suggest you actually touch it with your bare hands, but if you were to touch that light bulb, it would be extremely hot, almost too hot to the touch, where you might actually accidentally burn your fingers. I've accidentally done that a couple times myself, so don't feel bad. And it's painful, and you're very you might be confused because you're like, well, I turned on this electrical switch to give myself light, but not only am I getting light, I'm also getting heat. But I didn't ask for heat. That's strange. Well, remember when we were talking about the fact that energy is neither created nor destroyed? So when you turn on your light switch, that electricity that is coming through to turn on that light, it doesn't just disappear into nothingness. Instead, it gets changed into a different form of energy. And the form of energy that most electronics expose or give off is thermal energy, which is what you're talking about, is that heat, that literal heat that you feel is thermal energy. And that's being created because of the electrical energy that is being used up. And so by the law of conservation, which is matter is neither created nor destroyed, again, following the laws of conservation, which electricity absolutely does, it's completing that cycle. It's making that balance happen. A lot of things that you'll find out with science in particular, and definitely technology, is that it's a balance. There's always give and take, and that's with anything in life, I find. So if you keep that in mind, that will explain the heat to you. So for example, let's go back to my drawing. So let's say that we made a choice to make this a constant closed circuit, which means that this light bulb stays on day or night, wind or shine, sunshine, as long as there's still life inside this battery, as long as there's still power left in it. If we were to touch this light bulb when we were changing out the battery, for example, and it's been on that entire time, we would feel that that light bulb was extremely hot. I would say probably very, very hot, depending on that size of the light bulb. And that is what you're talking about, my friend, is that heat energy. And that's why is that this primary source that is giving you electricity is being changed naturally by science, by the law of conservation, into thermal energy or heat that you feel off of the source that is gaining that electricity. And you can find that happens with any device. I don't suggest you go play around with touching things that are plugged in. Please do not do that. But if you find that you are ever changing a battery out, or you are unplugging a device that has been plugged in for a long time, and you feel heat just by doing those activities, then that would be your explanation. If you're on a computer, which I know you all are right now, if you actually touch your keyboard, you can feel the heat coming off of your computer. And that is exactly what you're talking about. It's that thermal energy again that is being released because of the electrical energy that your laptop is taking in to stay on. So hopefully that helped some of my more kinesthetic learners, that you have a real life example and you were able to touch something with your hands to keep that in your memories. Next question, Maria.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Kate. And I think we probably have time. It's let's do one more question and then we can wrap it up because I know we do have we give them a little bit of insight for next time. We have a lot of questions for regarding natural energy, which I know you're going to touch up on next week.
Yeah.
So one of them that from one of the students from Middleton, Dana, she said, how does energy convert from one energy to another? So I just kind of paraphrase the question. Once energy converts to another.
Yeah, just
Energy.
it just goes along with what I was just saying. It's just the law of conservation. So there are certain laws that are out there, like the law of gravity, for example. Here, everything that goes up must come down, as we know, because that's the law of gravity. So the law of conservation, as we stated before, is matter is neither created nor destroyed. So anything that has to follow the law of conservation, such as electricity, like we were saying, has to convert itself into something else, whether it be thermal, whether it be renewable, because oddly enough, hydro plants, or which is just a fancy way of saying dams like the Hoover Dam, or anything that uses water to generate electricity, in a way, it's almost like a continuous loop, because there needs to be electricity in order to start off the engines that have that hydropower, in order to convert the hydropower that it has into electricity. So and I know that sounded very confusing, and I'm going to try to explain it again. So with renewable resources, because it is a primary energy source, remember we were talking about that with batteries? Because it is a primary energy source, it's always continuously moving, right? If we think about water or the ocean or a stream, for example, it's always going to keep moving unless a human gets in the way by we build a bridge or a dam there or somewhere to cut off water, or because of us, again, because of environmental impacts, that river might dry up or be less lush of a flowing river because of human development or choices that we have made to kind of just divert Mother Nature's natural path. So because of that, they can use the start-off energy of that natural movement that already happens from the waves to start producing that energy that they need. Because if you kind of do this with your hands right now, I'm starting to get warm. I'm starting to get hot. I'm really starting to feel it in my arms, right? And I think you will too. And we're, in a way, creating electricity. We're creating heat, right? But we're also have a breeze, if you think about it, because my hands are closed like so, but they're open. So I'm scooping up air for myself. So not only am I feeling a breeze, but I'm feeling a heat and an energy in my arms because of the movement that I'm creating. And this is a great example of renewable resources such as sun, solar, water, hydro, or wind. But understand with sun and wind that there are times where the earth, I'm going to start my arms. There are times where the earth turns away from the sun. So there are times that we don't have sunshine. And there are also days in different climates that don't have wind. So honestly, the only renewable resource that we can rely on to constantly be there is any hydro source. And the best way that I can explain the energy moving to you would be that when it comes to electricity, there always needs to be a primary source, because you have to remember it's a secondary energy, which means that electricity does not exist by itself. It cannot. It cannot, because it needs power in order to exist. So as long as you know that the electricity needs power to power it up in order to get to power up your vacuum, if you think of it as a 3-step process, it should help understanding the flow of energy a little bit better. I hope that was a clear explanation for what you needed. Should we go to the video, Maria?
Yes, thank you, Kate.
Okay. Yes, no problem. I will share my screen again with everyone, and we will go back to Mr. Eric. Well, I had a lovely time with you all today, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day with your classes. Let me just pause Eric real quick because I know he's loud. I'm really looking forward to next week. I had a wonderful time with you this week, and if you come up with questions during the week, feel free to jot them down and then forward them to me later, or have your teachers email them to Maria, and then I guess Maria can forward them to me, and I'm happy to answer you over email. And if you can, and if you have access to it, I would love for you all to watch Monsters, Inc., if that's possible, before next week's field trip, just so that you can get a better background of what we're going to talk about, because we're going to elaborate upon that, the traveling that electricity has to do to get to your house. But to wrap up for the day, we have one of our co-founders again, Eric Gradman, who is a wonderful and very talented engineer, and he has some wonderful words of wisdom that I hope you keep for the rest of today and maybe for the rest of your lives. And I will wrap things up once he says his last sentiments.
As an engineer, I've found problems with the button wall, and I've had to redesign various pieces of it. Today, the button wall is built using custom boards that we manufacture ourselves. Boards that make sure that the lights won't stop working, that make sure that if there are problems, the system can detect those problems and route around them. Button wall is one of our oldest games, and so the very first version was prototyped by me. We took buttons, lights, good old-fashioned Arduino, hooked it all up to a computer, wrote some software, and started playing. We didn't know the rules. We didn't know the gameplay. We didn't know how the engineering was going to come together. And so we had to start from nothing and eventually wind up with something. Many of the games that we build here at 2-Bit Circus are very mechanical. They often involve big buttons and lights and all sorts of things like that, but you don't start that way. You start with a drawing. First, draw the game you want. Figure out if it'll be fun, and then prototype it in software first. Anywhere you think you're going to have a giant physical button, start with a software button. It's so easy to pick up a tool like Unity and prototype simple games that later you can turn into big mechanical systems, things like this. But every game starts with a simple prototype. If you've never programmed before and you want to pick one language to learn, I'm going to give you 2 suggestions. One, if you want to make games, Unity is a great choice. That's written in a language called C#, and it's really easy to pick up, and the Unity environment is really fun and easy to build games in. If you want to expand beyond just games and think about what it might take to create an entire micro amusement park, Python is a great choice. Python is my personal favorite programming language, and I use it everywhere, even in places where you might not expect to find it. Sometimes you can't program, and it's going to take a long time to learn, and you don't have access to electronics or software tools or mechanical tools. What are you going to do then? Well, make board games. Make prototypes with paper. Use blank playing cards. There are so many ways to prototype fun experiences for people that don't require anything more than a pen and a piece of paper. And friends. When I was a kid, I built robots out of cardboard. They had no electronics. They did not move. From a very early age, I've loved robots. And I went to college, built real robots. I wound up working for a government contractor, building real robots for the military. Eventually, I realized that I would rather spend my time making fun, showing people how to have a good time together. And that's what brought me to this point, where I'm taking engineering knowledge and applying it to showing people a good time. One thing that I didn't do enough when I was a kid was apply my knowledge, was building stuff. I remember waking up one day and realizing that I had read every book on how to program, but I hadn't programmed anything. What you need to do is you just need to start building something immediately. It doesn't matter how simple, and sometimes don't even worry about what you're building, but put that knowledge to use. Build stuff, because inspiration comes during work, not before it.
All right. And Eric is absolutely right. Inspiration doesn't come before work, it comes during it. And I find that to be extremely true, whether that be I'm working on a science project or something math related or something creatively. I find that to be true all around. So thank you for the time that you gave me today, Maria and everyone. I'm looking forward to next week, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your Thursday. It's Thursday, correct?
Yes, thank you very, very much, Kate, for taking us in this journey. And boys and girls, as Kate said, don't forget, you need to watch Monsters Inc. because that's a lead up to our learning next week. Thank you very much, Kate, and we're looking forward to learning with you.
Thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great creative rest of your day. Go create something and let me know next time what you do. I'm about to go do that myself. So have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. It was such a pleasure. Goodbye.
Thank you.